Well, good evening. This is Susan here. I'm not sure if I'm going to post this yet because this is personal and I'm just taking mental notes. I have been, my father put in me to study a little bit more about Palestine or Palestine, their culture and their struggles and the conflict with Israel. And back in 2000, between 2001 and 2003, I was taking notes from the book of Revelation. It's like my father put it in me and it just like popped out of the page. So I was taking notes, and I had also, looked into the national anthems for the different countries and try to find like the phrases or the words that they shared in common. And just about every national anthem says something about God, most of the time God or a higher being, and then the earth. And then, just in going back and listening to the Palestinian national anthem, it's a beautiful national anthem, just beautiful. And the people's spirit comes through, because just like the name helps to mold the person, because this is where the applied psychology, I believe that the name helps to mold the person and vice versa. And there's a reason why, you were meant to be whatever your name is. That's the name that you were meant to have. And as God has promised to give us all a new name, and a new heart as well. I have ADD, so like I said, I'm not sure if I'm going to post this, but just in listening to the Palestinian national anthem, first of all, the music, it's all about, bold and very proud of your people, and the lyrics is about protecting your land and protecting your people, and the word warrior. And we are called to serve one another, but also to we are to be protecting each other as well. And we are, the people of faith, we are soldiers of God. And so I see that coming out. It's like we love our people, we're proud of our heritage, we are warriors. That's their spirit, and that's good. The national anthem for Israel is very almost melancholic, in that there's a longing. There's that longing and never losing faith, in that hope, that never dies. And it's that longing, and it's a beautiful national anthem. So it's all about hope and longing. It's almost like a little cry almost, And the Panamanian national anthem is all about working and prospering as a people, hard-working people, and achieving victory through unity. And it's all about, being new. So I believe that the national anthem helps to shape the people, just like the name helps to shape and mold you as you're growing and developing. So as our nations have been growing and developing, the national anthem in every word and even the music, it helps shape us. it's we have to respect that. We have to respect that. I can just imagine. I can just imagine putting myself in the shoes of the Jews when they were displaced from their different lands where they were, their different countries, and they were persecuted and displaced. But that persecution and that displacement of people persists today. It's still going on today. We're not calling it persecution of the Jews, but we're calling it persecution, violation of rights that's forcing people to be displaced from their homeland and be separated from their families. And that's it's hard for everybody. It's hard for the country where they're coming from, because it destabilizes the economy, their economy, but also the country where they're going, especially when there's like a mass immigration. So I can identify as a Panamanian person. I identify with freedom and prosperity and achieving victory through unity. And I can put myself in the shoes of the Jews who were persecuted back in the days, before the partition plan. And God put it in me, in my head, like I see this K in the middle, and I see these circles, and then I see P, 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 P. So far we've covered, Pemberton psychology, Peter and Paul, Panama Papers, Pentagon Papers, and now the partition plan. And this is the root cause of the conflict between Palestine and Israel. See, the thing is, the whole land was Palestinian land, as you already know. I mean, we know that. But it's like, imagine the United States, okay? And all of a sudden having like half of our country, being overtaken, if you will, or being occupied by people from either Mexico or from another country. Just like all of a sudden. It's like the United States, it's all about immigration. But then, I say we, but I wasn't even born then. But the people that were immigrating to the United States basically just did this to the Indians, did this, and then they occupied. That's how the Palestinian people felt. The thing about the Palestinian people, they have that warrior, protective, proud of their heritage and their people. And you have to put yourself in their position with your psychology. They're not the enemy, and neither are the Jewish people. It's just fate. Fate. Let me make sure I'm pronouncing that properly, because sometimes my Spanish. Fate. Destiny. The Father promised to transform our hearts of stone. And He, in the book of Ezekiel, He said, on one stick write to Judah, and all of the Israelites associated with him. And the other stick right to Joseph and all of the Israelites associated with him. And my Joseph tree spoke to me. I'm not kidding. The tree spoke to me, like not with its mouth, because the tree doesn't have a mouth. But the tree is a living thing. And the tree didn't reveal its identity to me until I moved in here. When it was just the tree and I went around my house and I looked at the plant and I was like, tell me what you are. Just like my father pulled the truth out of me. I was like, tell me what you are. And the tree said, Joseph. So I was like, okay. So I looked it up, Joseph, from the Bible. And then I found out that Joseph was the favorite son of Israel, of Jacob. And he said, in the book of Ezekiel that Judah and Joseph, which is associated with the Benjamin, because they came from the same mom and dad. And so Benjamin is son of the right, son of the south, not son of my pain. So we've got work to do. Sometimes we have to do reverse engineering in order to correct something. In this case, we have to do reverse studying, I suppose, or reading. We have to go back in time and read and find out, put yourself in the shoes of those people. If all of a sudden the United States let everybody and their brother in and took half of our land, we wouldn't have enough resources. We would feel like we're being bombarded, that we're being robbed of our land and our way of life. And on the other hand, when we welcome the refugees, it's there's two ways of looking at it. It just depends on what your situation is. If it affects you, if the refugees affect you, then you're not going to appreciate everybody and their brother coming, because you're thinking, we don't have enough resources in this community. Or they're potentially dangerous because we're letting them in too quick and we don't know who is who. There's a danger in that as well. But on the other hand, it's about humanitarian causes. And in the Bible, our Father, in God we trust. And our Father calls us to, to help one another in times of need like that. What was happening in Palestine with this, partition plan, it was like the United Nations had a get-together and they took it upon themselves to decide for Palestine how it was going to be done. And I had a feeling when they were talking about the votes. I watched the video. They were like Venezuela, Philippines, this country and that country. And I was like, they're mentioning all of these non-Eastern countries. And I was thinking in my head before I even came across it, and I had a feeling that the Eastern countries were not going to vote yay for the partition plan, because they are Eastern and they know, put yourself back in the days, Palestine back in the days full Palestine, Palestinian people, and the people from the Indian, India voted no. All of the eastern countries voted no. And I had a feeling before I even came across it. And indeed, hold on. I'm sorry. Okay. So the voting sheet from the United Nations General Assembly, November 29th, 1947. Okay. Afghanistan. I'm gonna tell you the ones that voted no, so you can see why. Afghanistan, no. Lebanon, no. Let's see. Egypt, no. Greece, no. India, no. Iran, no. Iraq, no. Yemen, no. Turkey, Syria, Saudi Arabia, no. Pakistan, no. Lebanon, no. So now you know, okay, those are eastern countries. They're right around the corner from Palestine. So they identified. They were like, I wouldn't want everybody and their brother to come over here and just take, occupy like our country. Like all overnight, basically. That's their point of view. Okay, so we have to look at it from a different perspective so that we can understand and not be pointing fingers and saying, you're the enemy and you are, evil people. It's like we have to understand the root cause, because remember that we were all born innocent, or we were born sinners, however you want to look at it, but really we were corrupted by the world. Okay, and it's time to return to the Father as a people, with God, Elohim, Allah, Abba, in the center of our lives. And this will transform our hearts, which He has promised to do, and it will set us free, because the truth sets us free. And I believe that the reason why the Palestinian people, why they've been at war for so long, not only because they've been robbed of their land, little by little it gets to be less and less and less, and that's not of God, and that's not even per the agreement. This is a violation of rights that the international community has been, as some quoted, turning their blind eye, because it's like, okay, that's not my problem, I don't want to get involved in that. It's like, no, let us as nations, go back and take a look at the situation over here and acknowledge, so that we can be fair to the Palestinian people and the Jews, because the Father has promised to restore, and the Father has specifically told Ezekiel, write on one stick to Judah and all the Israelites associated with him, and on the other stick to Joseph, which is Benjamin's brother, and all the Israelites associated with him, and that includes the people from the Ephraim, and Manasseh people. And pardon me if I'm mispronouncing it in my Spanish. But so you take these two sticks, and write on them, and one day I'm going to hold them in my hand, and the two shall become one. And this is destiny. So you brothers, we just need to go back and take a look at the root cause, so that we can take care of that wound before we can proceed, because this wound has been opened like just like a sore that gets deeper and deeper, like an ulcer, and it just keeps getting deeper and deeper and bigger, and unless we go in there and really clean it up and and look at it, then we can start growing some healthy tissue. Okay, so we need to look at this, partition plan from this time, 1947, and take a look at the voting sheet. And the countries that voted no are obviously the countries from the East, because they identify. It's like, I wouldn't want that done onto me. But then, on the other hand, we have to look at the Jews, because the Father, the Creator, the Master and the Maker, the Giver and the Taker, He wanted this to be. But He clearly says that the restoration of His temple in Jerusalem, it's going to have the free-flowing water coming out of the middle from His temple, and it's going to flow for everyone equally. And because man did not make himself, much less water, which was there from the beginning of time, we should not be withholding water. So let's go back and take a look at this before we can move forward, because it's just going to take 1 minute and you will clearly see. So you can put yourself in the shoes of the Palestinian people and understand that even if the Palestinian people themselves are divided, by the Hamas, and the other, it's like, let us sit down and give them their opportunity, their fair opportunity to speak all that they want to speak, so you can understand. Because the Father has already promised it's going to happen. We're going to be restoring our militaries. We're going to be using our training, our equipment, all of that, desire to serve and protect. We're going to use it like it was intended. We're going to be serving the Lord and serving your country, making your countrymen and women proud of you, and most importantly, you're going to make the Father happy. And you're going to be doing your job as a soldier, wherever you are, whatever country you come from. But we're going to be, instead of fighting each other, we're going to be restoring, helping each other restore our lands. Brother will help brother. And we will do that because it's already been written. So I hope that nobody gets offended with what I said, because it's not my intention. I'm not sure if I'm going to post this yet, but my heart tells me that I should, because I believe that I'm only going to be here for a short time and I don't have time to waste. So I am sometimes dyslexic and I have a disability, and I want y'all to help me, if I make a mistake, if I made a typo. I'm not going to be offended if you correct it at all, because I am putting it out there, and together we can put our books together, and the Father says that His Word is for correcting. Yes, and for guiding and correcting. So, the God with different names, but one Father. Universal Father and personal Father.